Daewon Foreign Language High School, one of the most prestigious elite schools in Seoul, stood tall with a modern building infused with traditional touches. This was where Park Yin, a third-year student, spent her days. Yin was known as an outstanding student with nearly perfect academic scores, a figure teachers could always rely on in various competitions. Though she came from a wealthy family, Yin never tried to flaunt her riches. She dressed simply, wore only light makeup to cover a bit of tiredness on her face, and was often seen carrying a notebook filled with small scribbles. Many female classmates envied her natural beauty while also admiring her modesty. For 2 years, Yin had been keeping a big secret, her feelings for Jungkook. Jungkook was a third-year student from the neighboring class. Nearly every student in the school knew him. Tall, handsome, intelligent, and most notably, the school's basketball captain. His cold and serious aura often made him seem hard to approach, though in reality, he was fairly easy to get along with. But that was exactly what made Yin feel so small. How could a shy girl, who often kept her head down while walking, ever confess her feelings to Jungkook? Not to mention, he was known to be rather cold and never easily opened his heart to anyone. Almost every girl who had confessed to him was rejected without much explanation. Yet, time was running fast. In just 3 months, they would graduate. Her chances were slipping away. The night before, Yin had stood long in front of her bedroom mirror, clutching her phone with trembling hands. She made up her mind. Tomorrow, she had to say it, no matter the risk. The school bell had just rung, signaling the start of break. Yin walked slowly down the corridor, her heartbeat erratic. In front of class 3.2, she stopped. Through the glass door, she could see Jungkook sitting casually, joking with his friends. Her breath caught. I have to say it now. If not, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. With trembling hands, Yin opened the door and stepped inside. The room suddenly fell silent. Some students began whispering to one another. Jungkook turned, raising his eyebrows slightly. What is it, Park Yin? He asked calmly. Though they had never been close, Jungkook knew this brilliant girl. Yin lowered her head, unable to meet his sharp, dark eyes. I want to talk for a moment. Just the two of us. A few classmates let out small cheers, but Jungkook remained composed. Okay, let's go outside. They walked out to a small garden beside the building. The spring breeze blew gently. Yin grew even more nervous, her cheeks heating up. So, what is it? Jungkook crossed his arms, waiting. Yin took a deep breath. Her voice trembled. Jungkook, I know this might sound foolish, but I've liked you for 2 years. I can't keep it to myself anymore. So, would you be my boyfriend? As soon as the words slipped out, Yin felt her knees weaken. Tears threatened to fall out of fear of rejection. She knew Jungkook's reputation. Almost every girl who had confessed was rejected outright. Jungkook fell silent. His gaze studied Yin's face. Each second felt like an eternity. Yin bit her lip, her eyes brimming with tears. I understand if you don't want to, she blurted out quickly, her voice shaking. I'm sorry, I just wanted to be honest. So. But before she could finish her sentence, Jungkook said quietly, I accept. Yin's eyes widened. Huh? I said I accept. From now on, you're my girlfriend. Jungkook looked at her steadily, as if his decision wasn't a big deal. Tears finally spilled down Yin's cheeks, this time out of relief and happiness. She could hardly believe what she had just heard. Don't cry, Jungkook said flatly, though the faintest smile tugged at his lips. If people see, they'll get the wrong idea. Yin quickly nodded, her face flushing red. Yeah, sorry. She hastily wiped her tears away. The news spread quickly across the school. Everyone was talking about it. How could Jungkook, the popular guy who rejected every other girl, accept Park Yin this time? Many girls grew jealous, some openly scoffing that Jungkook deserved someone prettier and more stylish. But they couldn't dismiss Yin either. Every teacher adored her for her academic excellence. For Yin, none of the chatter mattered. What mattered most was that she could finally walk beside Jungkook, even if sometimes she still couldn't believe it herself. The days that followed were filled with butterflies in her stomach. She always tried to show her affection. Almost every morning, she went to Jungkook's class carrying lunch or small snacks. This is for you. Yin smiled shyly, handing him a lunchbox at the classroom door. Jungkook accepted it with a nod. Thanks. Though his reply was short and his demeanor still somewhat cold, Yin didn't mind. To her, the fact that Jungkook accepted her gifts was already enough to make her happy. Sometimes Yin invited Jungkook to eat in the cafeteria, and thankfully he never refused. When Yin tried to feed him, everyone who saw was stunned. Jungkook, open your mouth. He hesitated at first, but eventually obliged. Yin fed him a piece of kimbap. "It's good, right?" Yin asked with a small laugh. Jungkook only nodded with a slightly awkward expression, which somehow made him look sweeter than usual. In the afternoons, Yin often came to the basketball court to watch Jungkook practice. She always brought a bottle of cold drink. "Tired, right? Here, have some," Yin said. Jungkook took it. "You don't have to go through the trouble, you know." "I want to." Yin smiled sincerely. For her, these simple moments were pure happiness. She felt her world had become brighter since being with Jungkook. 1 month later. One afternoon, a month after they officially started dating, Yin happened to walk past the back corridor of the gymnasium. She heard Jungkook's voice talking with his two friends, Jaehyun and Yoonwoo. "I still can't wrap my head around it." Jaehyun's voice was clear. "Why did you suddenly accept Yin? Don't you usually reject everyone?" Yin stopped walking, hiding behind the wall, her heart pounding, wanting to know. There was a pause before Jungkook answered. "I couldn't bring myself to reject her. At that moment, she was about to cry in front of me. If I turned her down, she really would have cried." Yoonwoo chuckled. "That's a pretty pity-driven reason. Plenty of girls cried, but you still turned them down, didn't you?" "Yeah, but for some reason it felt different that time. I just couldn't do that," Jungkook answered honestly. It felt as if the world crumbled before Yin. Her heart ached with each beat. So, all this time, he only accepted me out of pity, not because he truly liked me. Without realizing it, tears rolled down her cheeks. She covered her mouth tightly so they wouldn't hear her, then slowly turned and left the place. That night, Yin sat in her room, her eyes swollen. Her phone lay on the study desk. She typed a message over and over, only to delete it again. Finally, with trembling hands, she sent a short text. "Jungkook, I'm sorry. I want us to break up." Not even 2 minutes after sending it, her phone screen lit up. Jungkook's name appeared. He was calling. Yin bit her lip, tears falling again. She declined the call, but then came a second call, then a third. Notifications of messages began pouring in. Why all of a sudden? Did I do something wrong? Answer me, Yin. Yin hugged her knees tightly, sinking into confusion. She didn't know what to reply. Her phone lay on the desk, the notification light blinking endlessly, missed calls, unread messages waiting. She stared at the last line she had sent. "Jungkook, I'm sorry. I want us to break up." Her palms were cold. She closed her eyes. The memory of earlier in the day kept hammering at her mind. Jungkook's flat voice, the word pity like a small knife, and Jaehyun and Yoonwoo's surprised laughter that followed. Simple words she should never have heard, yet now she couldn't shut them out. The next day in the corridor, sneakers squeaked, laughter overlapped. Yin walked quickly with her bag slung over one shoulder, eyes fixed straight ahead, wanting to get through the day as fast as possible, to be a shadow no one noticed. She hurried, hoping to reach the school gate, get into the car waiting for her, and tell the driver to leave immediately. But her plan collapsed in the schoolyard, right beside the big Zelkova tree. Suddenly, a warm, strong hand grabbed Yin's wrist. "Wait, Jungkook." His voice was flat, but there was an undercurrent of urgency. His face clean, his uniform neat as always, but his eyes, the usually calm eyes, now held a tense glint. "Let go," Yin whispered, lowering her head. She could feel some students starting to look their way. "If I let go, you'll run," Jungkook replied softly. "Come to my car, we're talking now." "Jungkook, I don't want to. People are watching," Yin hissed softly, pleading. "You're the one making this a scene, Yin," he said quietly, restraining himself. "Come on." Yin still tried to pull her hand back, but Jungkook didn't release her. He then guided her toward the school parking lot. Yin knew resisting would only draw more stares. Finally, she gave in. "Fine, 5 minutes. After that, it's over," she muttered to herself. They walked through the shaded parking lot, the smell of gasoline and damp asphalt mixing with the scent of pine from the garden. Jungkook's car, a black sedan, waited in the shadows. They got in and closed the doors. Inside, silence dropped instantly. The city's noise felt far away, like it had been pulled behind a curtain. Jungkook exhaled. "Okay, now, the reason. Why did you ask to break up last night?" Yin stared out the window. "I can't do this anymore, Jungkook." The vaguest answer ever. Jungkook turned toward her, eyes on her. "You're not the type to suddenly do this. I know you. There's something." Yin bit her lip. Her chest pounded. "I heard you talking to Jaehyun and Yoonwoo." Jungkook didn't answer right away. His brow furrowed. "What did you hear?" Yin smoothed her already neat uniform. You said, you accepted me because you felt sorry for me, because I was about to cry waiting for your answer. You said you couldn't bear to reject me. The car seemed to shrink. Jungkook stayed silent. A flash of regret crossed his eyes, then disappeared. Okay? He said quietly. At first, yes, I'm not lying. Back then I couldn't bear it. Yin let out a soundless, bitter laugh. So it's true. No need to go on, right? But listen to me first. Jungkook cut in, soft but insistent. This past month, Don't say you've changed, Yin interrupted, looking at him, eyes wet but held back. Because that sounds more like guilt than real feelings. People change because they're comfortable, because it's routine, because they're afraid to hurt. I don't want to be a routine. You think I'm that kind of person? Jungkook tilted his head, a faint crooked smile, more bitter than amused. I could have turned you down from the start, like I always do, but I chose to try. And it turns out everyone knows why you accepted me. Yin cut him off again, her voice trembling. You told them. You told Jaehyun, Yoonwoo. So every time I see them, I'll remember my status in your eyes, your girlfriend out of pity. Jungkook fell silent, and Yin continued. Actually, it's not your fault. She bit her lip. You were already kind enough to accept me, even if it was out of pity. And after I became your girlfriend, you treated me well. But I heard something I never should have heard, and it still feels wrong to pretend I didn't. What's worse is that other people know your reason too. That makes me uncomfortable, insecure, if this relationship goes on. Jungkook closed his eyes briefly, holding his breath. Okay, that's my fault. I've got a bad habit of being too honest with them, but that was only at the beginning. Now it's different. Different how? Now, I feel at ease when you're around. I like the way you feed me at the cafeteria, even though I was dying of embarrassment. I like how you quietly wait for me during basketball practice just to hand me a bottle of water. I like that you don't make things dramatic. He stopped mid-sentence, gazing straight into Yin's eyes. I'm starting to like you, Yin. For real. Yin looked back, searching for any trace of a lie. What she found instead was her own reflection in Jungkook's pupils. Her eyes were swollen, her heart still refusing to believe. I can't keep a relationship built on pity, Yin finally said softly but firmly. Maybe you really did change, but I can't. Every time I see Jaehyun and Yoonwoo, I'll feel small. Every time you're kind to me, I'll ask myself, is this real or just leftover pity? You want me to prove it? Jungkook leaned forward, his tone low. I can. Don't. Yin shook her head. If the feeling's real, it doesn't need to be tested. It just flows naturally. And if one day I believe it, that has to come from me, not because you force it. Silence fell again. Jungkook stared straight ahead, his fingers tapping lightly on the steering wheel. Meanwhile, Yin only clutched her bag strap tighter. So that's it? Jungkook finally said. We're done? Yin inhaled, holding back a sob. Yes. The word slipped out softly, yet it landed like a heavy blow. Jungkook looked at her for a long time, not angry, not begging, just a gaze that strangely felt accepting. Okay, he whispered. If that makes you feel calmer, I'll accept it. Yin nodded. She opened the door. Before stepping out, she turned and whispered, thank you for accepting me back then. Even if your reason was awful. A faint smile, bittersweet and fragile, touched her lips. Jungkook lowered his head, his lips moving soundlessly. You're welcome. Yin walked across the parking lot. From a distance, a pair of eyes followed her. Jaehyun leaned against the fence, Yoonwoo standing beside him. They exchanged a glance, but no words came out. Whether knowingly or not, they stepped aside as Yin passed. Not a single joke was thrown. The world seemed to understand when silence was needed. In the days that followed, Yin's life changed color. Not completely dark, but a long stretch of gray. In class, she still answered teachers' questions correctly. In the library, she still flipped through books with neat neon highlights. In the cafeteria, she still ordered seaweed soup and rice, sitting in the corner. The difference, the seat across from her was empty. Sometimes Jungkook's footsteps echoed in the hallway, the steps Yin could recognize even with her eyes closed. Sometimes the roar of cheers from the basketball court slipped in through the windows. Yin avoided looking, not out of hatred, but because she wasn't strong enough yet. On the other side of the school, in the large gymnasium, Jungkook hurled the ball toward the hoop. Thump, thump, swoosh, the rhythm that usually calmed him. This time, it didn't work so well. Jaehyun walked over, passing the ball back. Bro, sorry, Jaehyun said awkwardly, a rare thing for him. For running my mouth too much before. I shouldn't have butted in and asked so many questions. Jungkook caught the ball, holding his gaze for a moment. It's not your fault. I was the one talking too much. Yoonwoo spun the ball on the tip of his finger. You gonna go after her again? Jungkook looked at the hoop, measuring a distance he already knew by heart. Not now. Seriously? I don't want to make her feel any smaller. Jungkook lifted the ball, shooting it. Swoosh. If I really like her, then I'll really like her. No need to push. Waiting is sometimes part of liking, isn't it? Yoonwoo and Jaehyun exchanged glances, smirking faintly. Wow, our captain's poetic now, Yoonwoo teased. Shut up, Jungkook chuckled dryly. But at the corner of his lips, a small smile flickered, a quiet acceptance of a feeling he hadn't yet said aloud. Without realizing it, 3 months had passed so quickly. That morning, the school auditorium was filled with students in neat uniforms for the graduation ceremony. Balloons, flowers, and a banner reading Graduation Day decorated the room. The atmosphere was a mix of emotions, nostalgia, joy, and the heavy feeling of letting go of 3 years that would never return. When the official ceremony ended, the mood shifted to something lighter. Students busied themselves taking pictures with their closest friends, capturing their last moments as high schoolers. Yin was caught up in the excitement as well, smiling freely as she posed with her classmates. But as the crowd slowly thinned out, Yin's steps carried her toward the exit of the hall. That was when Jungkook appeared from the opposite direction. He stood tall, his face calm, but his eyes clearly betrayed a sense of unease. Yin, he called softly. Yin froze, her body stiffening. Hesitation flickered across her face, but Jungkook took a step closer, his voice gentler than usual. Can we talk for a moment? Just for a moment. After a few seconds, Yin finally gave a small nod. They sat on a bench beneath the shady trees, spring breeze scattering fallen leaves around them. For a while, neither spoke. Only the distant chirping of birds filled the silence. These past 3 months, Jungkook finally broke the silence, his eyes fixed straight ahead. I haven't been able to forget you, Yin. I thought time would help me get used to it, but it hasn't. I still want to be with you. Please, give me one more chance. Yin said nothing, her fingers twisting the hem of her skirt. She drew in a deep breath, then turned to him with gentle eyes. Jungkook, you're a good person, but this time, I'm sorry, I can't. Why? Jungkook's voice weakened, his eyes searching for an answer. I want to focus on college. Right now, I don't want to date. To me, dating is just a vague status. I only want a serious relationship, one that's clearly headed toward marriage. And that isn't now. Jungkook fell silent, frustration plain on his face. So, even now, you still don't believe me? Yin lowered her gaze. I know you said you've changed, but in my heart, the memory of what you said that time is still there, that you accepted me out of pity. I still can't fully believe. Jungkook let out a heavy sigh, his fists clenching and then loosening again, angry at himself, but unable to blame her. It meant he still hadn't done enough to earn her trust. All right, he finally said, voice resigned. If that's your decision, I won't force you, I'll be patient. A quiet pause lingered, then Jungkook tried to lighten the mood. So, where do you plan to go for college? He asked. Seoul National University, Yin replied shortly. Jungkook's eyes immediately lit up. Seriously? I'm going there too. Yin looked surprised, then smiled faintly. Oh, really? What major? International business. Jungkook looked at her with excitement. What about you? Medicine, Yin answered. They both chuckled softly, their conversation flowing more easily. There was a sense of peace, though the distance in their hearts remained. Before parting, Jungkook turned once more. Yin, even if you can't accept me yet, at least don't treat me like an enemy. That's all I ask. Yin looked at him for a long moment, then gave a small nod. I won't, but Jungkook, please, open your heart to someone else too. Don't wait for something that may never come. Jungkook said nothing, only a faint smile appearing on his lips, though his eyes betrayed the pain he carried. Deep down, he knew, this time, he would truly have to wait. A few months later, days at the university passed in a blur of busyness. Seoul National University, with its vast campus, was always filled with students hurrying along, caught up in their classes and organizational activities. Yin walked quickly down a campus pathway, carrying several books in her arms. She looked more mature now, dressed in a simple white blouse and jeans, her hair neatly tied back. From the opposite direction, Jungkook appeared. His light blue business faculty jacket was folded over his arm, his dark hair slightly tousled by the wind. For a brief moment, their eyes met. Yin gave a small smile before quickly looking down, pretending to be busy with her phone. Jungkook returned the smile, but his eyes followed her until her figure disappeared into the crowd of other students. That afternoon, the campus library was crowded with students deep in study. Towering shelves filled with books carried the familiar scent of aged paper and polished wood. Yin was searching for a reference book for her assignment. She stopped in front of one of the tall shelves, her eyes scanning the titles on the highest row. With a soft sigh, she realized the book she needed was up on the top shelf, out of reach. She stood on tiptoe, stretching her hand out, fingertips brushing the spine of the book, but unable to grasp it. She bit her lip and tried again. Suddenly, a shadow appeared behind her. Another hand, a longer, stronger, reached above hers and pulled the book down effortlessly. Yin froze, her body stiff. When she turned, she found Jungkook standing right behind her. The distance between them was almost non-existent, her shoulder nearly brushing against his chest. His warm breath tickled her ear, making her heart race wildly. "This book," Jungkook's voice was low, almost a whisper. Yin swallowed hard, her face flushing. "Yes," she replied softly. Jungkook lowered the book, handing it to her with a faint smile. "You should have called a librarian, not tried to grab it yourself." Yin took the book, her hand accidentally brushing against his fingers. A strange current rushed through her. She quickly pulled her hand back, but the warmth lingered. Around them, everything felt silent. The tall shelves seemed to close off the world, leaving only the two of them in the narrow space. Yin could still feel how close Jungkook's body was, his scent, a mix of soap and subtle cologne, clouding her focus. Yin tried to speak, but the words caught in her throat. Jungkook leaned down slightly, their faces now only a few inches apart. His gaze was intense, not the look of a casual friend, but of someone holding back deep feelings. "Sorry," Jungkook finally said, his voice deep yet gentle. "I can't pretend not to see you, Yin. And didn't you promise you wouldn't treat me like an enemy?" Yin's chest rose and fell rapidly. She knew she should answer, but her tongue felt tied. The intimacy of the moment was overwhelming, leaving her clinging to the book as if it were the only thing keeping her grounded. Jungkook then gave a gentle smile before softly ruffling the top of Yin's head. "From now on, don't avoid me anymore. I promise I won't force you. I'll patiently wait until you're ready to accept me again." With those words, Jungkook turned and walked away, leaving Yin standing frozen, her heart still pounding. She realized her feelings for Jungkook hadn't completely faded. But almost instantly, she shook her head firmly. "No, Yin, focus on your studies, so you can graduate and become a doctor," she muttered to herself. A few years later, Yin was no longer a bright student. She was now a talented young doctor, wearing a white coat that often required her to look into the hopeful faces of her patients. After completing her studies at the Faculty of Medicine, Seoul National University, Yin was accepted as a general practitioner at Seoul National University Hospital, one of the best and busiest hospitals in the city. Her schedule was packed. Sometimes she had to stay on duty in the ER all night, listening to screams, cries, and even the final silence of someone's life. All of it had made her stronger, though there were moments when she felt so exhausted she forgot how to smile. Yet behind all the busyness, one thing hadn't changed. She still hadn't truly forgotten Jungkook. Unfortunately, since graduation, they had never seen each other again. There were times when Yin wondered how he was doing now. Surely Jungkook had already become successful at his father's company. Surely many women wanted to be close to him. Or perhaps by now, Jungkook already had a new girlfriend and had forgotten all about her. Thinking of that made Yin's heart ache a little, but she quickly brushed the thought aside, convincing herself that Jungkook deserved to be happy, even if that happiness wasn't with her. That night, the ER was bustling. Monitors beeped incessantly, nurses rushed back and forth, the scent of antiseptic mixed faintly with the metallic tang of blood. Yin had just finished stitching a cut on a little boy's forehead when the emergency door swung open again. A nurse shouted, "Car accident, 4 victims." Immediately, Yin stripped off her gloves and grabbed a new pair. Her heartbeat raced in sync with the gurneys being wheeled in. The first patient was taken by another doctor. Yin moved toward the second, a young man in a white shirt stained with blood at the shoulder. She bent down to examine him, then froze. Her breath caught. "Jungkook," she whispered, barely audible. Yes, it was him, Jeon Jungkook. His face was the same, sharp, handsome, but now more mature with a stronger jawline. A trickle of blood stained his temple. But the worst was the deep gash on his shoulder from shattered glass. His eyes were open, squinting slightly against the pain. "Yin," Jungkook murmured, his voice weak, yet a faint smile curved on his lips. I'm not seeing things, am I?" Yin steadied herself, forcing her hands not to tremble. "Don't talk. You need treatment." She barked quick instructions to the nurses. Blood pressure? Get an IV in. Shoulder laceration needs suturing. Prepare the minor surgery set. Jungkook gave a short chuckle despite the pain. You're strict now, Dr. Yin. She ignored the comment, focusing on cleaning the blood from his shoulder. When his shirt had to be removed, Yin drew in a sharp breath, not only because of the wound, but because of what she saw next. On Jungkook's left chest was a tattoo, not elaborate artwork, but simple, elegant lettering in bold black ink, Park Yin. Yin's hand froze. Her chest felt as if it had been struck. What is this? She stammered. The assisting nurses gasped softly, exchanging glances. Jungkook only closed his eyes, a faint smile lingering on his pale lips. That's proof I never really left you, he said weakly. I knew you didn't believe me back then, but I wanted something you couldn't deny. Heat rushed to Yin's face, anger, disbelief, and a swell of emotion colliding all at once. You're insane. Why would you do this? Because I knew, sooner or later, we'd meet again. And when that happened, I wanted you to see for yourself. Jungkook opened his eyes, meeting hers with a dim but unwavering gaze. I truly love you, Yin. Yin bit her lip, eyes glistening with unshed tears. Still, she forced her hands to remain steady, stitching his shoulder with careful precision. She was a doctor, professionalism above all, but behind that calm, her heart trembled violently. Each pierce of the needle, each pull of the thread, felt as if it were also stitching back together something that had long been torn between them. After the procedure was finished, Jungkook was moved to the observation room. Yin sat on a metal chair beside him, pulling off her gloves with a long exhale. Her hands were still trembling slightly. Jungkook opened his eyes, looking at her. You're still beautiful, Yin. Even more beautiful than before. Yin turned her face away, suppressing the smile threatening to appear. Don't talk too much. You need rest. If I fall asleep, you'll leave again. Yin froze. The simple words struck her heart. She lowered her head, hiding the tears welling up in her eyes. I'm not going anywhere, she whispered. The silence in the observation room was broken only by the hiss of oxygen and the steady rhythm of the monitor. Jungkook now lay half upright, his shoulder neatly bandaged. His face was pale, but his gaze was warm. Still hurting? Yin asked softly. A little, Jungkook replied with a faint smile, but I've had worse wounds. Huh? Where? Yin raised an eyebrow. Jungkook pointed to his chest, where the tattoo lay hidden beneath gauze and hospital fabric. This one took more courage than stitches. Yin held back from smiling too widely. You're crazy, she murmured gently. For you? Maybe. Jungkook winked, then turned his eyes to the ceiling. It was a small accident. The car in front braked suddenly on a downhill. My tires slipped, hit the barrier. Not dramatic like in the movies, just enough to bring me here. Yin lowered her head, but enough to drop my heart into my stomach, seeing you like this. Jungkook tilted his head to look at her. Sorry. Don't apologize, Yin sighed, steadying herself. What matters is you're safe. Silence fell again, this time, a comfortable silence. They both knew there were many things left unsaid. A few hours later, after the initial procedures were complete and his condition was stable, Jungkook was transferred to a regular ward. You're not going home? Jungkook asked softly. My shift ended 2 hours ago, Yin replied, but I stayed to watch over a stubborn patient. So I'm stubborn? A little. Yin nodded smartly. You hate being told to stay still. I hate waiting without doing anything, Jungkook admitted honestly. But if what I'm waiting for is important, I can. He looked straight into Yin's eyes. I've been doing that for the past few years. For a moment, they simply sat in silence. The air between them felt heavy with words left unsaid. Jungkook gave a faint smile, his eyes never leaving Yin's face. Turns out, even after all these years, I can still recognize you just by the way you breathe. You're still the same. Yin lowered her gaze, her cheeks warming. You've started talking in exaggerations now. Not exaggerations, Jungkook replied softly. I just missed you. Yin looked up, her eyes widening. The simple words struck her heart harder than the beeping monitor beside the bed. I missed your voice, the way you glare when you're mad, the way you smile when you're trying to hide your nerves. I missed all the little things about you, Yin. Jungkook exhaled deeply, his eyes glimmering with warmth. I missed you so much it hurts. Yin's tears could no longer be held back. She covered her face briefly with her hands, then lowered them with a bittersweet smile. I missed you so much too. Jungkook carefully reached for Yin's hand, his fingers warm despite his pale skin. Then, why don't we get back together? I would never stand in the way of your dreams, Yin. I want to be the one who always supports you until you reach the top. Yin looked down at her hand caught in his. Her heart raced wildly, but this time she didn't pull away. There was a sense of safety she had longed for all these years. I didn't believe you before, Yin whispered, her voice trembling. I thought your feelings were just pity, but now, seeing that tattoo, hearing the way you speak, I can't keep denying it. I still love you. Jungkook. A wide smile slowly spread across Jungkook's lips, his eyes reddening. Yin, please, say it again. I'm afraid I'm only dreaming. Yin lowered her head shyly, but finally lifted her gaze to meet his. I love you. I still love you. A small sob escaped Yin's lips, but was quickly replaced by a fragile laugh as Jungkook tightened his grip on her hand. I love you too, Yin. Since then, still now, and always. Silence fell over the room once more, but this time, it wasn't awkward. It was filled with relief, with warmth, as if the outside world no longer existed. Yin shifted closer, finally resting her head gently against Jungkook's bandaged shoulder. Jungkook bent his head, pressing a soft kiss onto her hair. From tonight on, Jungkook whispered, I won't let you walk away from my life again. Yin smiled faintly, her eyes closing as tears slipped down her cheeks. For the first time in years, she felt that home wasn't only in her white coat or the hospital, it was also here, by Jungkook's side.